Thank you very much, Anna.
So now we're going to be moving on to Francesco Cipollone, who is going to be giving us a talk about application security and dragons. Francesco is the chair of the Cloud Security Alliance and also the CISO for NSC 42. Francesco.
Thank you. So, hello and welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about?
Dragons.
Dragons and application security. Can you try to make sense about those two linked together? No? Yes? Who likes dragons? Who like Game of Thrones? Come on. All right. So, when you have dragons, you have knights, and you have defender of the castle. What is your castle? As Anna was saying, it's data. It's our board, as Ian will say. Paul, what's your castle? Is your organization? Yes. And we have to defend that. So let's see how to defend that. And we as security people, we are the defender of this world. So you come here and you see yet another talk about security that is everybody's problem. So what's in it for you? So I'm going to talk about something different, about dragons, about slayers of dragons, us, the knights. So, a little bit about myself. I'm Francesco Cipollone. Welcome everybody. I'm a CISO advisor and a CISO for NSC 42. I'm currently serving a number of clients, including financial service, specifically HSBC, and I'm currently chairing the Cloud Security Alliance for UK and Ireland. So I'm going to stress you about two key concepts today. First of all, we are all security. Security is everybody's problem. And I'm going to touch point on that. And then we need to make security cool, security frictionless. Because security is painful. If we make it painful, nobody want to do it. So, the dragons in the room, or outside the room, and why we need to slay it. We can make sense about application security and dragons, and why we have to defeat the dragons. And what is these dragons? So for us, dragons in application security are vulnerabilities that are coming from anywhere. And our castle is our organization. So let's see how big is that problem. So just to give you a little bit of an overview of the previous breaches and why it's so important to defend our castle and our data. This is just a summary of the major breaches. Georg, can you tell me if you had an account in any of these organizations?
Yes. Dropbox, eBay, Adobe.
Here you go. Our data is exposed. Our data, as Anna was saying, is exposed every day because we have accounts everywhere. And regardless if your data is there or not, treat your customer data as if it was your data. Would you want your data to be exposed? I certainly wouldn't. Paul, would you want your data to be exposed? No. And just to make a sense of the size of the problem, this is the size of the recent breaches. And we have even smaller one, but that had higher impact, like Mossack Fonseca, for disclosing, let's say, machination behind the room. And this is the mean time to fix of vulnerabilities, 60 to 94 days. You can recall Equifax. I think Equifax was breached in 3 days after the vulnerability was disclosed. So now, let's move into this modern world of DevOps and how do we insert security in this element. It's a big challenge because DevOps means going fast. And as security knight, we are struggling. We don't know how to insert ourselves in here. And ultimately our goal and our roles and responsibility is to protect the castle for dragons from vulnerability. We have to do that, it's our responsibility. So we can't say to a DevOps person, no, we're not going to do it, or you have to do that, because they're going to go around us. So we need to find a way to work with that. Not just from an application security perspective, but from governance, risk management, and so on. So the problem is how we do governance, application security, risk management at speed and at pace. And I'm going to talk to you about a few of the key pillars, key concepts that I'm going to introduce. So, sorry. Trust and verify. Trust the developers to do the right thing, give them guidance, but verify that they're fixing vulnerabilities day in and day out. Give them a license to code, a license to operate, a license to deploy in production, and as long as they maintain their license, they can go fast. And that license will be granted if they're maintaining a good practice of vulnerability that they're fixing, as well as education, and go and check. So teach them how to do vulnerability at scale, how to fix vulnerability day in and day out in their daily sprint. It needs to be just as well as fixing bugs or implementing new use stories. There needs to be a balance, and I'm going to touch on that. So the two thresholds that we're going to set up is build versus fix, number of use stories versus vulnerability that we're going to fix, and vulnerability trending, downtrend the level of vulnerability, and we're going to see how to collect and enrich this data. And more important, don't leave out your architects. So at Security Night, we are all together part of this effort to defend the castle. So, just to give a form of all this operation, we have 5 pillars that I like to call it 3+2. 3 key pillars: design and governance, application security, and production security. That's going to inform your education pillars and the risk management pillars. If you see risk management, wraps up around all of that. And we're going to explore each one of them. So, how to wrap the whole thing together and how to inform. So it's a complicated picture, and I'm going to walk you guys from left to right. So starting from the left, we're going to grant our developer the license to operate. While they code and they develop up in production, directly, without gates, without a stop, without breaking the pipeline. If they have the license to operate, we trust them. You can't see up in there, in the right-hand corner, but that's a dashboard. It's a Grafana dashboard that displays the number of vulnerabilities. How we collect those vulnerabilities? We scan the code. We do static code analysis, dynamic code analysis, up to your risk appetite, but collect all these scanners' results, put the result in Jira or in another ticketing system, and display the numbers. The key factor to maintain the license to operate, the license to code, is going to be downtrending of the trending line, the number of vulnerabilities that are getting introduced. And it's fine if they introduce a spike in production or a spike in the number of vulnerabilities. They might have changed something, they might have modified something. As long as they're downtrending over a quarter, that's the key important thing. It's displaying the fact that they're fixing vulnerability day in and day out. The other healthy and key element to maintain the license to operate or the license to code is going to be build versus fix. I repeat, build versus fix. And you can ask me, what the hell does that mean? And you'd be right, so let me explain. Whenever you create effectively a backlog of use stories, you start creating stuff to build that your developer is going to build. And then if you start inserting the bug, the errors, and the vulnerability that you want to fix, you need to maintain a healthy balance. And it's up to the application owner to decide, or your product owner, to decide, this week, am I going to build or am I going to fix? And it's up to his risk appetite to decide the sprint planning. As long as they maintain a healthy balance and as long as they don't breach the downtrending, they're going to be fine. But it's up to their risk appetite to go fast in production if they have to, and that's entirely a risk-based discussion. Am I going to breach these two limits? Am I going to have a discussion with my board or not? That's fundamentally the framework on how to operate at scale and how to fix vulnerability at scale. Now, the whole key point of the license to operate is going fast, because our business nowadays needs to go fast, need to prototype fast, needs to go in production fast, need to deliver feature fast. And the whole key point of the license to operate is getting fast, is giving to our developer the ability to go fast. So, key point, trust the developer to do the right things. Apply governance, and we're going to touch on the governance element. Make sure that your developer understands, all of the developer community, that security is their responsibility because it's part of their sprints. And I'm going to touch on the architect role in a little while. So, this is the key framework on how to capture and how to scan code in the various stages. And it's just a very simplistic form. You have static code analysis on the very left, then you have testing code analysis, so your dust and your IAS. So dynamic code analysis and interface application code analysis. And then scanner in production, there is nothing else than library check, third-party check, and operating system checks, so you build. All of that will actually roll back in dashboard for the individual tools. But it's more important that you visualize the dashboard at the very top. So the dashboard at the very top are the dashboard that we're going to summarize, and we're going to display if an application is uptrending or downtrending in the number of vulnerability. In your code vulnerability, in the library vulnerability, in your third party, and in your operating system, so fundamentally patching. Trust or verify. It's very important that you keep your developer, your application owner accountable for security. If you can't verify, how can you strip off the license to operate? Right? So verify that the team does security training, verify the reduction of vulnerability day in and day out, and a downtrending overall, and verify governance. Now, I'll talk about a lot of governance, but have I explained to you what governance means? Do you have clear what governance means? So this is just an example of the dashboard and the trending. So it's important to keep downtrending. And you see some stuff is uptrending. It's important that you have a discussion with your business and with your developer to set those thresholds. Threshold is going to be the key to maintain the license to operate. Now, let's touch on governance finally. I've been talking about so much about governance, but I haven't explained what governance is. So governance is a hard problem to solve in DevOps. So how do you scrutinize without going and falling in the waterfall effort of security to review an entire design, to assess an entire design? How do you define change? And DevOps is all about change, and fast change, and small and little change. Well, my answer to this will be break the change into. You have an initial design effort where you do all the full-blown security governance in the very left corner. And then you have fast pace and fast speed with your DevOps, so smaller incremental change. And just tell your application owner and guide him through on the number of changes that are functionally impacting an application and security functionally impacting. What does that mean? I look puzzled eyes in the room. Anything that change access control, network location, anything out of the 10 domains out of 6, for example, anything that that a developer touch on this element will need a security impacting change. And I don't have the answer for everything here, so try it. The whole concept of DevOps is adapt this framework, adapt this to your organization. It will be different for every organization. So there will be a healthy balance of how you define change. And don't be afraid of failing, because there will be a lot of failure in defining changes. But the more you iterate, the more you're going to find a healthy balance. And work with your board, as Ian was saying, to understand their risk appetite. Maybe at the very beginning, they will be completely risk averse, so you be more scrutinizing the left part. So everything will be more scrutinized. But ideally, with the confidence that you're going to build with the developers and with the vulnerability fix at scale, you're going to give your board a little bit more trust on this concept of license to operate. So just a last point, training. Overall awareness training. I think everybody has gone through the awareness training, but key point, train your developer, and train the developer based, PowerPoint hates me today. Train your developers with the data that you get from the scanner. So it doesn't give you any value if you do general awareness training if your problem is on input validation. Train your developer on that, stress that, make training campaign across that. Cross-site scripting, SQL injection, analyze the data and inform your training on that element. And more important, make it frictionless, make it entertaining. So just to wrap up, trust and verify, do vulnerability management at scale and do it in everyday life. Embed architect with engineer, do data-driven education. Last but not last, as a Cloud Security Alliance, we are an open community, so we ask everybody to collaborate in any way, shape, or form. We do mentoring, research, event, and networking. I have personally a personal commitment on mentoring, and I try to mentor as many people as I can as a leader. I have a mentoring code to reach out to as many people as I can, and it's open for everybody. We have an award with the Cloud Security Alliance of the Cloud Influencer of the Year. Next year is going to come up. We're going to do the panel and the question and answer, so I'm going to keep the question hot and ready for me. I'd like to thank everybody, not PowerPoint because it hasn't been collaborative today.